don't keep track of everything, but the beauty of, to some extent, of evaluating businesses, large businesses, is that it is all cumulative. I mean, if you started doing it 40 or so years ago, you really have got a working knowledge of an awful lot of businesses, but there aren't that many to start with that are, and you can get a fix. What are there, 75 maybe or so important industries, and you get to understand how they operate, and you don't have to start over again every day, and you don't have to consult a computer for it or anything like that. So it has the advantage of accumulation of useful information over time, and you just add the incremental bit at some point. Why did we decide to buy Coca-Cola in 1988? Well, it may have been just a couple small incremental bits of information, but that came into a mass that had been accumulated over decades, and it's a great business that way. It's why we like businesses that don't change too much, because the past is useful to us. Borrowed money usually or frequently leads to trouble, and it's not necessary. I mean, if you had some compelling reason, if you had to double your money by the end of the year and be shot, then I would head for the futures market, because you need to do it. I mean, you have to introduce borrowed money, but you really ought to figure out how you can be happy with the present amount of money you've got, and then figure that everything else is all to the good as you go along. And I don't think people, once they start focusing on short-term price behavior, which is the nature of buying calls or leaps or speculating in index futures, once you start concentrating on that, I think you're very likely to take your eye off the main ball, which is just valuing businesses. I don't recommend it. Yeah, it's certainly true. If we'd operated Berkshire with considerable borrowed money over the years, it would have done very much better than it has. But nobody knew what that amount of borrowed money the appropriate level would have been, and it wouldn't have made any difference to us. I mean, we have just as much fun doing what we've done than if we'd owned it on leverage and it had been twice as much. I mean, it's not the way we approach it. If you have X and you think you're going to be way happier when you've got 2X, it's probably not true. You really ought to enjoy where you are at that point, and if you can make 12 or 15% a year, and you desire to save and you like piling it up, it'll all come in time. And why risk losing what you need, and have for what you don't need and don't have? It's never made a lot of sense to us. Well, if we had both a big hurricane in the Northeast or in Florida, and we had a big quake in California in the same year, and we had a financial market, the financial markets tanked, perhaps because of those events, but perhaps for other reasons, we would be thinking about ways, it might not be borrowing money directly, but we would be thinking about ways to buy securities if they got cheap enough. I mean, anytime securities get cheap, we don't like to go to the office and not write a ticket. I mean, we certainly would have the ability to borrow some money. We would never borrow a ton of money relative to capital. We're just not set out that way. We don't want to disappoint anybody in this world. We don't even want to worry about disappointing anybody in this world. So we're not going to do that. But we have a lot of extra firepower overall, and I would say under almost any conditions that cause securities to get very cheap, we would find a way to buy some of them at ability. Yeah, we know they're there, and there's no reason to push on anything now. At least we don't have any reason to push ourselves. But if it ever became advantageous to push somewhat, we would push, although never to a degree that in any way caused us to lose a minute of sleep about fulfilling every obligation we had.